Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Thought strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world. Like Gandhi live for peace,
aspire to peace.
Someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that Lord,
that light,
like Christ,
light
for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar trying to save.
Oh my word, I'll tell you what, you know what, there are more and more monkeys that are jumping up and grabbing potatoes as they're being dumped off of the dump trucks in these big piles, and they're running over and washing them up and munching down. I am watching this 100th monkey effect really begin to take form on this planet. There are people that are asking questions, human beings who are becoming human beings, and a lot of it is to credit to guests like we have on tonight. And man, Ramon, there's just so much going on. Have you watched any of the solar stuff in the last couple of weeks, Ramon?
I know that every time, and I always tell my wife this, and it always happens, if there's a major, what do they call them, CM? There's always, there's always an earthquake here like a day or 2 days later. So that's kind of, it doesn't tell me exactly when and where and how strong, but it never fails.
There's so much going on in our environment and the world, the universe, the solar system. The sun is we're hitting that solar maximum here, and boy, I'll tell you what, there's been some, and our technology is really bringing it a lot closer to the consciousness of everybody here, because the photography that we're getting out of it right now, this solar cycle, so much even more than last solar cycle. There's so many more chunks of gear up there floating around in space that's looking at it. Some of the photography and some of the filters and filtering and stuff that they do, that gives some really impressive shots of what's going on up there.
Yeah, which is really nice.
It's something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So to go into a little bit of the news, of some of the news article I find, and most of the news article I find is usually what people post on Facebook. So I want to thank those people who always post news articles. Famed NASA astronomer confirms extraterrestrials are here. And this is not the same astronauts, another one. And I'll read really briefly about this. According to, let's see, that was Dr. Story Musgrave.
No, not Musgrave. It's someone else. What's his name? McMillan or McMillan?
Oh, yes, Miss Magdalene. Clark C. McLean. Anyway, he reported seeing a large dish-shaped object appear below the Columbia. The shuttle was approximately 190 nautical miles high. You can click on the news section and find out more about that, but that's just amazing, and I'm glad that somebody else has the cojones to come out and say something about that. Also, you can see the summary on the purpose of chemtrails, and you can click on that link. And again, this is one that I mentioned last show, but I'll mention again, which is grow your own furniture.
Yeah, that one's just amazing. Yeah, I remarked last show on that, and that's
yeah. It took them 8 years to grow
stuff.
One of the chairs. So if you're patient, and you got the room.
Hey, something else that's coming up here this year is the Pythagoras Pythagoras. Oh my God, Tom. The Pythagoras conference. How about the Pythagoras conference? Oh my God, and I haven't drank anything. Yeah, it's coming up October 10th through the 14th, and if you guys are interested in going to that and want to kill two birds with one stone, so to say, you guys can help support us and support the conference by clicking on the link on our website to buy your tickets, and that will actually send us a smattering of proceeds also. So we would appreciate it if you're going and you're an avid listener of the 100th Monkey to use our link to buy your tickets. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Dr. Brooks Agnews and oh crap,
they got a pretty decent lineup there. So yeah, just check it out. So ECETI's going to be. They just released their conference for this season too. I don't have it up here right now, but we will have something posted on the website there about that also. So if you're interested in going to that one, I will.
Who's going to be there? Nelia Benz?
Yeah, Nelia, of course, James, Neil Kramer. Oh, geez. I'm drawing a blank right now. That guy from Canada. What's his name? Ben Lowry.
Yes, Ben Lowry. And
yeah, it looks like they got a decent lineup. So, yeah. And again, go ahead and click on the link through our site. We're not doing any of the proceed things with them, but we definitely are ECETI supporters.
Yeah. Also, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can just scroll down and click on any of those links. And also, my book is out. It's called Scratching the Cosmic Conscience. You can scroll down and click on any of the links there. Let's see. I think we pretty much got everything covered. Who do we got?
Well, we have
before they fall asleep.
We have Bernhard Guenther and Humberto Braga. Bernhard Guenther has had a lifelong interest in the mysteries and hidden knowledge of our planet, questioning reality and our social conditioning on the quest for truth. He writes articles and essays on his blog, Piercing the Veil of Reality, ranging from esoteric self-work to the UFO phenomena, as well as examining not only official culture, but also New Age beliefs. His work's been published on various alternative news sites. Besides reading, researching, and writing books, he works as a professional body worker in Topanga Canyon. That's California, by the way, helping people to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Humberto Braga has always sought to understand and explore the reaches of reality through esoteric study and creative exploration. He is a professional, published, fine, and multimedia artist, social activist, and manager of a spiritual bookstore in West Los Angeles. Though both self-work and through both self. Oh man, I'll tell you what.
Such a professional.
What's wrong today. Through both self-work and facilitating public discussions in many creative avenues, he strives to bring deeper issues to the surface of conscious awareness, to enliven and enlighten, personally and socially. Now, both these guys found common interest in helping raise awareness about these deeper topics, and they collaborated on Time of Transition in 2010, and they've done 3 films based on Bernhard's writings: Know Thyself, UFOs, Aliens, and the Question of Contact, and Love, Reality in the Time of Transition. Bernhard and Humberto feel that in order to make a collective shift in consciousness, we need to do the work to separate truth from lies within and without, and most of all, making the darkness conscious so we can truly heal, evolve, and grow. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to a professional show.
Good to be here.
So, first question out the back. What brought you guys into being now called, oh, those two strange guys that do those weird videos on YouTube?
What brought us together, or how we started?
Yeah, how you guys started, how you guys came into the woo-woo, or weird, as a lot of our fellow Americans like to call us.
What started you seeking?
Well, Bernhard here. For me, it was, I came from Germany, moved to Los Angeles to study drums and percussion. I was a musician. And I could never really adjust to society. So I was going through a lot of suffering and, because in school they don't teach you how to, deal with life, basically. They just teach you how to become a, technician or be in a successful career and so on. And I was...
Drone.
Huh?
A drone.
A drone, exactly, yes. So I dropped out of the University of Munich. I was studying business and found a passion, in drumming, and went to Los Angeles, studied drums and percussion, but I was still suffering and questioning. And then basically through my own suffering, I started to seek answers. I wanted to figure myself out and came across certain teachings from Carl Jung to Krishnamurti and Alan Watts, and that started basically my journey to self-exploration. And then as I was digging deeper and deeper and questioning official culture, and then eventually came across conspiracies, UFO phenomenon, the whole fringe. And I'm like, whoa. It's a deep rabbit hole. And it, once you start digging, it kind of doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Humberto?
Well, ever since I was young, I think I've never really felt like I was able to fit in. I was always picked on, and I always used drawing and art as a means to kind of escape and create my own world. And whenever I looked around me, I saw these rules that never made sense, and I always kind of wanted to explore where it came from and how to get out and create something better. And over the course of my life, I experienced a lot of paranormal things, and just never stopped kind of pushing the envelope. And, the studies led to, general philosophy and theosophy, to exopolitics, to the esoteric. And much like Bernhard, it's just been, once you open up that door, you just can't go back. You can't unknow what you know.
Right.
And it really just kind of helped fill in the questions that drove the passion.
I get the feeling that you were born that proverbial artist with the artist mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely feel that from you. That gives a different perspective on the world, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what brought you guys together? How'd you guys meet?
Well, we met through mutual acquaintances. And the great thing is we met online mostly, and we would spend hours and days just discussing things and going back and forth and exploring these different issues and kind of challenging each other in our ideas. And finally, what wound up happening is we developed sort of a mutuality of understanding and a foundation to work upon. And by bringing that to social avenues like MySpace and Facebook and that sort of thing, and more into the public, we realized that we were touching on these central themes that were common to everyone. And so instead of just hashing it out online over and over, we decided that it would be best and most effective to bring Bernhard's very eloquent and profound writings to everyone by the creative avenue of making videos.
Yeah, the problem is people like to watch videos more than read, so that's kind of the thing.
It's a sign of the times.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole internet has been such a blessing for the seeker, because if they're the true seeker, those superficial seekers, they get out there and they, oh, this is neat and that is neat, and it's all bullshit, And go ahead and laugh, Ramon. I said bullshit. Inside joke, guys. But I see that there's the internet has become such a vital tool in our age for getting the truth out there.
But it's also dangerous because there's so much disinformation out there.
That was exactly where I was going. Yes, there's the discernment filter has to be kicked in high gear when you go out there seeking truth. And then you can't take one source. You can't believe one source. It's got to have some validation and some verification, and then and which should lead to experience, personal experience. But
that's true.
Because you can never really know anything unless you experience it yourself.
Right. Yeah. And, like you said, Facebook nowadays is an amazing, any social networks are amazing tools to spread awareness and connect with like-minded people. But at the same time, as people, like you just said, people just cut, copy, paste, and just post anything without being discerning at all, and
right.
Just emotionally driven, and just because it sounds good, it's true, but it's not necessarily so,
Right.
So,
well, the best way to deceive somebody is to slip that deception into 90% truth.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's how disinformation works. It's always truth mixed with lies, and a lie sandwiched in some truth. That's how a lot of people swallow it, basically.
Yeah. So go ahead, Ramon.
No, I was gonna say. So, how does your families feel about what you guys do, and your upbringings? Does that any especially a lot of the Christian-based families tend to be more pulled back on these kind of things?
Right. Personally, I wasn't raised religiously. My dad has a PhD in math and physics, so he's an atheist. He doesn't believe in God or anything.
Yeah.
But I was, especially at the beginning, I was very excited and wanted to share this information with my parents, which totally backfired on so many levels. So I learned that lesson. So I started to, it's also being more externally considered. You cannot give that information to people who don't sincerely ask for it, right? So you cannot push that information on others or force people to wake up, right? So, my parents, they have watched the videos and they were amazed by how we have done it, but most of it, they don't understand it, right? On some level, but, they accept it, and, they have learned some things here and there through conversation and so on, and they learn in their own ways, but again, you cannot, a lot of the information is just not for everyone, and people have to seek the truth for themselves, basically,
Yeah. I've actually, in my early days of my wake-up process, I was so impassioned about this new thing that I'd found, it was new for me, and I wanted to share with everybody. Thought everybody needed to know, that proverbial evangelist. I needed to. People needed to know what I was experiencing. They needed to see the truth that there is life after death, and that there are these things going on, and the experiences that I had, they needed to have them too. And what I found was that every time I tried to really get somebody to know what I'm talking about without them asking, I experienced what I ended up terming a backlash, where something would happen to me, and it could be completely unrelated to that person or the situation I'm in at the time, but it's like creating some form of a curse on myself for trying to push this on someone else. I think it has, personally, I think it has to do something to do with the negative reaction you're getting, the energy that they're putting off when you're trying to do this, that has to find a home within you somewhere. But have you guys experienced anything along those lines of the backlash?
Most definitely, yes. I mean, that's a big lesson both of us had to learn, and I had my preaching thing going on as well, just like you, because I was very passionate about these things. I wanted people to know, how can you not want to know,
right, about
these topics? But there's a deeper esoteric truth to it, and that's why, in the end, the truth is hidden, is actually out there. It's not hidden. It's for everybody to see, who has the eyes to see and who is seeking sincerely, right? But, again, when you push it on someone, you create the opposite. You push people more away, you get it being attacked, and it's like Morpheus said in the Matrix. Some people are so plugged into the Matrix that they will define the prison they are in with everything they got. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. And what you find is when you're trying to wake up those people who are defending that prison, you wind up wasting a lot of energy that could have been more effectively put into touching those people who are more sincere instead of wasting your time with people who just don't care.
Exactly.
Now, this brings up something that we were talking about off the recording button, which is that I find, like I was saying, this is, maybe stereotype is the wrong word, but there's certain ethnicities that I feel, and this is not always true, but there's certain people that tend to be, cultures that tend to be more open to these things. And for example, whenever, if I meet an American, they ask me, "Oh, what do you do?" I usually don't tell them unless they give me some kind of hint that they're into this stuff. But if I meet someone from Mexico or South America, I'm very open and just tell them, "Oh yeah, and they right away either will tell me their story or their family story of how they experience something or what they do. But when I would say that it's an American, like recently I met this girl from Portland, and I told her, "Oh," she was like, "Why do you go to Portland?" I said, "Oh, I go there for a UFO conference." She was like, "Oh, you're one of those weirdos."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, coming from the girl from Portland, huh?"
Right. Interesting. Now, there's certainly truth to it, and I think one of the reasons is that especially Americans, they're very conditioned through media and education, and more than anyone else in the world almost. I can see this definitely having grown up in Europe and coming here and being confronted with the media bias and, the corrupted education on all levels. And, like we said before off the recording, our other video, UFOs, Aliens and the Question of Contact, which also has been translated in Spanish, got way more hits from south of the border, Mexico and South America, than, English-speaking countries.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there seems to be, there's definitely something to the way the media programs the child as it's growing, and the onus falls upon the parents. And in my humble opinion, I am very humble, right, Ramon? In my humble opinion, the onus definitely falls upon the parents there, and not, but. And then on the other hand, you can't blame the parents on one sense because they're programmed in the same fashion themselves, but they should have been grown up in an era a little bit prior to such the intensive programming that we have now.
Well, also like in south of the border, you have major medias, their version of 2020 talking about these things. Jaime Maussan,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And there's many others in South America. And even to the point where I've seen interviews with major military, and they've kind of like don't talk about it as much now because of their pressure from the U.S. But other than that, they're very open to talking about these things.
Yeah, true.
So, Bernhard, you're from Germany. What about Europe and the media over there? Is it starting to reflect more and more the same type of Western media we have here, or is it a little bit more open to the fringe subjects?
Well, I kind of, having lived here in the U.S. already 16 years, kind of lost touch, so I cannot give an accurate, objective assessment. But in general, the media, not necessarily open to fringe, but the media is more objective than here. It's not like here in the U.S., the news it's a show, it's an entertainment show, right?
Right.
So interrupted by commercials and advertisement and so on, and that's not the case in Europe or in Germany, from what I remember. And when it comes to fringe topics, I don't really know, because I haven't really, since I lost most of my contacts and friends over in Germany, so I haven't brought up these topics over there. But what I can see, that American culture is so influential in all over the world. So they take a lot of the crap as well. You know what I mean? All the reality shows and, you know, people like American culture, the whole pop culture thing, you know, so it's like a virus almost, unfortunately.
Right. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the work that you guys have done. I'll start with a question of what is consciousness? If you guys could explain to me what it. I have absolutely no idea. I'm the guinea pig here. I have absolutely no idea what consciousness is. Please explain it to me.
Well, I think consciousness is something that's very dependent on the person or being that it's coming through. I think in general terms, if we can speak on that, it's more or less an expression of something more spiritual or higher coming through the vessel. That's also influenced by programming, cultural programming, educational programming, nationalism, religious, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, it's just an expression of something that's greater that ties it all together.
Now, is ego the same thing as consciousness?
It's an aspect of it, but not the whole thing.
Yeah, I would say consciousness is also linked to being conscious, so to speak, not acting mechanical or programmed. Mm-hmm. And the ego can be very mechanical and programmed. And I think it's not necessarily about destroying the ego or, avoiding the ego, but making the ego a good instrument or vessel for higher consciousness to work through, so to speak.
You bring up a point about the destroying the ego there. There's quite a few different philosophies out there, or theosophies, whatever you want to term that are, or theologies, excuse me, that are big proponents of getting rid of the ego. My personal opinion is that it's impossible to do and live here on this planet. But where do you guys stand on that?
Well, I don't think that the ego per se is a bad thing. I think what happens is that it's like a toolbox. If you liken the ego to a hammer, and that's all you use in your toolbox, you're completely missing the point of having all those tools available to you. And I think people abuse that ego. I don't think it's about getting rid of the ego, because like you said, it's a part of the psyche, but it's about taming it, understanding it, and using it constructively toward refining your consciousness and letting that consciousness come through in a very, in the purest way that it can to fulfill your purpose and help you navigate this reality. Because if you didn't have an ego, you would just be food. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think people what you can say, ego is more or less the false personality or the false self, the conditioning in the program, which is the thing that needs to be destroyed, or, basically there's some truth to it. But, again, it's about refining it and refining the personality through which the ego works through, so to speak, and being a vessel or tool for, something higher, for the higher self, basically, to work through.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a productive way, what tool is the ego? How can we use it productively? Because what we learn is the ego is, people define themselves as the ego and what they've attained and what they've become and who their friends are. But obviously that's the misuse of it. What's the real use of the ego?
Well, I think the ego helps a person to understand the boundaries between self and other. Without the ego, we would all just kind of blend into one amorphous sort of plenum, and that would allow all sorts of predatorial beings and behaviors to seep through that you couldn't discern because you don't have that, I don't want to say protective aspect of the ego, but it's definitely, that's where some discernment comes in, I think, on some level. It's the thing that helps you to develop discernment.
Absolutely. So, you mentioned higher self a few minutes ago. Excuse me. One of the main goals that I set personally on my own path was to get to know my higher self, to merge more of my higher self within this consciousness, that this thing that I call Tom. Oh geez, I don't know how to phrase this question. Short of saying, what in your opinion and your words, what is the higher self?
The higher self is your soul potential, so to speak. I think it relates to, when you take the chakra model of the 7 chakras, I would say the ego operates on the lower 3, and you connect to your higher self once you get into the heart chakra, the throat, and the third eye, and your spiritual self, which kind of projects your physical body and your ego into this reality. And when you open those through self-work, through esoteric work, you can connect to your higher self, to your higher centers, and then become a vessel for your higher self to work on. That's different for each. And then everybody has different talents and different lessons to learn and so on.
What benefits does that communication and that contact with the higher self bring?
More harmony in the sense of aligning yourself with nature, with the evolutionary process, and basically like the Tao, you kind of get away from your own subjective lower self and the fear of fight or flight attitude, and more open yourself up to inspiration and higher ideals and values, and do the work, to truly become your true self, which is basically cutting through the programming and conditioning, and that's the work. The more you peel layers and layers like an onion, so to speak, and then you kind of get yourself out of the way, meaning the ego almost out of the way, and your actions become in line with the universe, basically,
Right. Yeah, I kind of see that there's a big division there that people are trying to create between service to self and service to others. And I kind of, every time I go into that whole area, I get a little uneasy feeling, because I see within myself that what I'm trying to do in the world is to raise the awareness of who and what we are, of life, and of how everything is so fundamentally connected. But doing that, I have it's fundamentally a service to self. But the action that I'm doing is bringing people like you on the show, and just the conversations I have in my day-to-day life with people I meet and greet. It's in that sense, it's a service to others. But I see it as fundamentally a service to self. What do you guys feel about that whole service to others, service to self thing?
Well, that's a very good topic. The whole understanding of and difference between, or dynamics of STO and STS, service to others and service to self, because many people, project their own meaning into it, right? And sometimes even mistake service to others for service to self, or vice versa. So I think in this reality we are right now, 3D of humanity, all of us are STS, service to self, to an extent. We cannot be otherwise. We have to take care of ourselves. Feed the body, we eat, we kill plants, right, or animals, which is basically definitely service to self, to feed our physical body, right? So, but I think we can aspire towards becoming STO candidates, so to speak, to
I like that, STO candidates,
right? And do that. And I think people tend to delude themselves if they claim, oh, I'm all service to others, and kind of reject the whole physical aspect or our animal nature, because that is still part of us and needs to be accepted that way, right? So yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be examined, explored more deeply.
And I think also people have to keep in mind the the whole subject of the context, it's not black and white. And so through the process of self-work, you're able to see things more objectively and understand the greater context that the action takes. If we didn't feed ourselves, or if you didn't promote your website, then you couldn't, spread this message to more people.
Right.
So there's a context that falls into that you have to work with.
Right.
Just like being in your body, there's parameters that you have to work within to aspire to something greater.
Yeah.
And service to others doesn't always imply always giving, and sometimes actually saying no and not giving is service to others, to respect free will, because to understand that the other person has to learn the lesson him or herself. You know what I mean? Even if we can see that they're lying to themselves and so on. But if they don't ask, you cannot give without asking, so to speak, which also goes back to what we talked about before about pushing information on other people.
Right.
That's actually STS, because you're not considering the other person.
Right.
I see sometimes that also starts to feed the negative side of the ego as well. When you're the quote unquote the savior for everybody because you know all the information.
Right. It stems from self-importance.
Yes.
Yeah.
That whole self-aggrandizement trap.
Yeah. Or people make themselves feel better, about, like, for example, when people donate money to various causes, you know what I mean? Are they truly trying to help, or are they trying to make themselves feel better? Oh, I have donated some money. Now I feel good about myself. Now I can go on with my life.
Right.
Which is essentially actually STS. So, yeah.
Yeah. Here's a big question. And this is a word that gets thrown around so much, and I find it so misunderstood. In your opinion, what is true and real love?
Well,
Just a small question, guys.
Yeah.
Nothing big there.
Well, here's the thing. In our video, Love, Reality, and the Time of Transition, we addressed the subject matter that love has many different manifestations depending on the avenue of its expression. Animals love differently. The love of a mother is different than, love of an ideal or country, or, it depends on what level of being the person is that they can love at. So there is it's very difficult to kind of pigeonhole the subject of love, which is why I really appreciate the writings of Jiddu Krishnamurti, because he takes what isn't love and leaves you with what's left. And it leaves you with a mirror of who you are and where you're at personally. And that's how you understand what love is.
Yeah, I always found it. Go ahead.
Rather than defining what love is, also to look at what is love not, Is love, neediness? Is it jealousy? Is it, all these things?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's funny how a couple would be so in love, and the next year or the next month completely hate each other and want to kill each other.
Right.
So
because it wasn't based on love in the first place.
Because they were falling in love with an image of the other person they were projecting, Right. And Carl Jung even said, this was psychologist, that about 70% of what we think of another person is our own projection. So yeah. And we all can relate to that in relationships.
Right. So did you have something more on that line, Ramon?
Yes, I did. I was gonna say, going into the sending love to other people, or for example, those meditations like sending love to our presidents to make the right choices.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that one?
Well, again, it's very abstract. What does it mean already to send love? You know what I mean? What do you do? Like, you send love. What the whole idea of meditating and projecting love. What do you really project? I mean, is it a feeling? Is it emotion? I mean, from what we talked about in our video, love is not necessarily an emotion, a feeling, but tied to knowledge, which also the ancient esoteric teaching talk about, that love is knowledge. It's a higher state of awareness. It's more almost objectively seeing exactly the world as it is, right? So, a lot of these misconstrued ideas of sending love and light, it's actually very selfish in STS, to give something which somebody else didn't ask for, first of all, right? And then also the question, is it truly love? Is it really, what the other person needs, so to speak?
It's often just rooted in wishful thinking.
Right. So this kind of folds right into where I wanted to go, is our energetic bodies and how they project in the world. And this falls right along the line of what Ramon said, the meditations and projecting love and projecting whatever you wish to see in the world type thing. This goes into the whole manifestation thing and all those different areas. I personally have experienced enough things along those lines to let me know that there is definitely some, where there's smoke, there's fire thing. So there's definitely something to being able to project your energy to have an effect in the world around you. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Emoto, and I did that rice experiment, and that just in itself proved to me and many others that yes, our consciousness can affect our physical reality. In this time that we're in right now, with all the changes going on, does that type of projection, those meditations for world peace, for health, love, happiness, and that type of meditation, do you see it as having an effect on the world? And what is that active component there?
Well, as you said, truth is mixed with lies, so certainly some truthfulness to the aspect of creating reality, right? You don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. But as Gandhi said, being the change you want to see in the world, which is, I think has been very misinterpreted. It can be very distorted because everybody has his own subjective ideas of what the change they want to see. Most people project their own beliefs and opinions, which can also be very conditioned and programmed and not necessarily be the truth, right? And trying to project love into the world and create peace and harmony. There are many other issues, for example, which also ties into the idea or the assumption we are all one, right? Yes, we are all one. From a higher perspective, everything is made out of the same stuff. We know that, right? But applying this higher truth, so to speak, in our lower reality of 3D experience, there are some traps, because yes, we are all one, but not everybody is the same, and there are people on this world who do not have access to higher states of consciousness or cannot activate the higher centers, even have no conscience, which also ties into the topic of psychopathy, of genetic psychopaths, which is a big issue and many people are not aware of. So a lot of people tend to project their own soul potential into other people who actually don't have that. And various esoteric teachings talk about that as well, of actually soulless people who, look all the same from the outside, but are completely empty inside. And you cannot give or bring love to them because they simply cannot access it. And there's nothing wrong with them. It's just where they're at and part of the evolutionary process.
And this also goes back to the subject of free will versus fate. Destiny. How much of your own personal desire or subjective perspective can you project onto the world? And what you find through experience is that there's a certain amount of wiggle room you can have, but there are parameters that objective reality sets up, because you're not, we're not alone in this. Everything is connected. So if you're going to, I think if someone's trying to quote unquote manifest their own reality, that's fine and good, but you have to have a fundamental understanding, first of all, of the framework within which you're operating.
Yeah, and like I said, our consciousness has an effect on the world, but everybody also lives in their own reality bubble with different beliefs, opinions, and and like Umberto said, it's a matter of free will. And like if the majority of people still believes in lies and in deceptions, then by the nature of free will, then we still will recreate this illusion. There's many topics, humans need to learn on a collective level, learn the lessons. And if you don't learn the lessons, we don't get to move on. It's a lot of people that, a lot of spiritually inclined people, they tend to avoid anything externally and like don't want to get involved in politics or the negative because it's bad, because if you focus on it, more bad will happen, they believe, which is not true. It is the opposite. Actually, by making the darkness conscious, by looking into the more disturbing aspects, we raise awareness, we shine light into it, which is the true meaning of light work, actually. And then through this awareness, we can create more harmony and more love and peace, in that way.
So you mentioned, and I'll give it the other name, like the psychopath, and the other name is the Watico virus. I think Native Americans from the West Coast, Tom. I think call it that.
I think it was the Sioux, if I remember right. But anyway, the Watico. That's oh geez, what's his name?
Paul Levy.
Paul Levy. Yeah. The book. It's very good stuff.
So there's the Native Americans, and I believe it's the Sioux. I could be wrong. They talk about this virus, and it's like it's almost like a leech, and it leeches onto these negative emotions and negative thought forms. And for some people, like for example the Inuits up in Alaska, when I forgot the word that they call it, when they had somebody like this in their tribe that was like what they call a psychopath that had no emotions. Excuse me. What they did to relieve the thing is when no one was looking, they would just push them into the water. But obviously, we're not going to do that. So, what is your definition of the underneath current of this Watico virus, or what gives the better way to say it, what gives it the negative side, what it feeds on? What is it?
Well, I think a lot of these things are metaphors, so to speak, for certain cultures to give just definitions to things that they don't completely understand. And Western culture does the same thing, like back in, a couple hundred years ago, there was, they would look at things like more mystical things like fairies and demons, like vampires and things like that. And these are all metaphors for certain anomalies that we have in our reality. I think a lot of these things if you look at the teachings of Don Juan, it's very similar to esoteric teachings, and there's truth that ripples throughout all the teachings, right? And so what you find is with this Watico virus, in Western culture, I think we could just correlate that to, physiological imbalances of the brain, to psychopathy, to socially spread pathologies, and ponerology. And there's a really good book by Andrew Lobachevsky entitled Political Ponerology that, if you have a dictionary handy, it's great to read.
Ponerology,
I was going to say, that's a new word.
Please explain. I'm not familiar.
Well, what happens is when a society becomes overrun, because here's the thing, psychopaths are very charming and they fit right in because they have a quote-unquote mask of sanity. They're really good at manipulating people by imitating their behaviors, and they're masters of manipulation. And so what happens is these people, they're instinctively drawn to positions of power because it fills their sense of control and what they want. And it's very narcissistic in that sense. And when they reach positions of power, like we see today in corporately owned media and government, it creates social pathologies. And when a society becomes so pathological that it can no longer distinguish what is right and what's wrong, it justifies atrocities and at the same time demonizes the very same actions against itself, then it becomes, quote unquote, ponerized. And the purpose of bringing about this new terminology according to Andrew Lobachevsky, is because of the corruption of science. The field of psychology has become so corrupted that we no longer have a working framework by which to understand these psychological abnormalities. So that's what ponerology is, and it's unfortunately, I think that's kind of the root. That's where we need to address. Without addressing this mass psychology and how it spreads virally, as the Wetiko virus kind of talks about, without addressing that viral spread of social pathologies, people won't understand themselves. They won't be able to see the influences around them clearly. So I think that's kind of how it all ties in.
And yeah, what Humberto also said, the virus, how it spreads. Basically, there's only, according to Lobachevsky and other researchers, about 4 to 6% are psychopaths, which are genetic psychopaths who are born without a conscience. And you cannot cure them. You cannot cure them by sending love and light and all these things. They are just like that by nature. Mm-hmm. And since they are in positions of power and act as normal and have a so-called mask of sanity, appearing normal, then normal people, through the process of ponerization, as Humberto said, take on pathological values. Like our whole society is pathological. So even normal people who are not psychopaths then, quote unquote, become psychopaths and very pathological and cannot discern between, healthy individuals and pathological individuals anymore.
And one of the big things that people don't understand, which is why understanding the subject of psychopathy is so important, is that people don't realize that when a person is clinically psychopathic, it's really 99% of the time, it's a physiological impairment. The person doesn't have the physiological capability to process empathy in their prefrontal cortex due to either chemical damages from being in the womb, be it genetic defaults, be it through abuse. So there are many different ways, but the main thing is that psychopathy is irreversible, and people try to interchange the terminology of sociopathy and psychopathy when they're really the same thing. There are minor variations in how that person with a condition would present themselves in society. Some people are more scattered and unable to maintain a status quo lifestyle, and that's what's been typically termed as a sociopath. And some people are more easily integrated into society, and that's the psychopath.
Right.
There's, it's funny. I was explaining the whole topic to somebody, and here in Japan, and a Japanese guy goes, "I think Japanese people are this way." Well, I'll give you examples, and it's not only Japan; it's all around the world. But for example, in China, you had there was a child who was, I think she was like 2 or 3 years old, was hit by a car, and dozens and dozens of people walking by her, and no one bothers to, pick up a child off the road. And another car runs over, and he stops, looks back, and keeps going, and just everybody just keeps walking by. And she's there like, I think 15 minutes before somebody actually went and picked her off the road. So cars are driving around her, and no one, they just look and keep walking. Now, I question myself, how can you be human and see a child there and not pick her up? But then I find out that if they do pick her up and they take her to the hospital, if she doesn't have insurance, they have to cover it. So it's almost like the society conformed them to become this way.
Sure, and that goes deeper into the ponerology. I mean, if you look at the issue with Bradley Manning and the WikiLeaks issue, where he released, all these war crimes by the U.S. government, people have full knowledge of what the U.S. government is doing, but they don't dare speak out on it because they're afraid of being persecuted, like Bradley Manning was, and they're trying to make an example of him. But that's the right thing to do, is to speak out against that sort of evil and injustice.
Which relates again to service to self. People, for the most part, unfortunately, think first about themselves, and their own stuff before speaking out for others, which may put them into danger, right?
Right. So this whole, this whole thing, I'm wondering if our the food, the diet, the water, the fluoride, all that crap that we're ingesting now in our society is actually adding to the neural issues that a psychopath has.
Definitely, we're being poisoned through the water, through our food, and it affects the brain, affects our emotions, affect our mental capabilities, and everything. You know, we're literally being dumped down on every level, not only through education and government or media, but through the food we take in. Yeah.
But once you become aware of it, you can avoid that.
Right.
You can eat organic. You can have water filtration systems. You can become much more healthy.
You can self-educate yourself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, I think with your consciousness, you can have a huge effect on your own physiology also, as far as you know, we were talking about that manifestation thing. I think we have, if there's anything that you can manipulate and in any form or fashion, it would have to be your own physiology with your consciousness. I mean, the whole placebo effect thing.
True, mind over body. I mean, there's certainly truth to it, but you still need to honor your physical body, and it doesn't help if you eat McDonald's every day and just
absolutely.
So.
I every time McDonald's is mentioned, I just think of that video where the guy left the McDonald's food. What was it, Happy Meal? For 6 months outside and never went bad.
Yep.
Oh, the documentary, or no, I know what you mean. Yeah, the experiment. Yeah.
Super Size Me, right?
Super Size Me. Yes, that's all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me see how much time. We're reaching at the top of the hour. Want to give you guys a chance. Like, how can people get in contact with you and
any other projects in the works?
Well, right now I'm currently writing again. I haven't been writing in a while since we were busy last year with the videos. We've done all these videos last year, which was a lot of work, you know. And I'm currently writing, and our YouTube channel is youtube.com/timeoftransition, and my webpage is veilofreality.wordpress.com, and that's where people can reach us, basically, you know. And we are on Facebook as well. So
yeah, timeoftransition@gmail.com is the email address.
It's the email address, yes.
And Humberto, you run a bookstore?
Yeah, I'm the manager of a bookstore in West LA, where a lot of the issues that we address in Love, Reality, and the Time of Transition in all of our videos are in full color and in all its crazy glory. Yeah.
Nice. Well, next time I'm down there, you'll have to make sure you shoot me an address so that I can stop by next time I'm down in LA. I love the esoteric bookstores. They're awesome. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in those places.
Yeah.
They're hard to find these days.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're still around.
Yeah, especially in West LA.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for listening for the first hour, and if you would like to hear the second hour, become a full member to the 100th Monkey Radio. Hit that membership button and join us, and check out all our second hour content. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry, and also just want to mention the music that you'll be listening coming up now would be the Luminaries, and that's called Be the Change.
There you go.
So I think that would fit perfect with the show.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll see you guys in the second hour.
All right, see ya.
Yes, I This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
light
for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah, Allah, Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
My soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing recede. Due to the media propaganda killing my creed. Oh, what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fighting for interest before it's attached to feet. They try to sell you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante, while the anti-proletariat hold the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving, and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They tactically keep trying to keep you from asking the why.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ, for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the water which feed the tree, someone help me, giving back is my responsibility.
Be the change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ, for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me. Aspire.